pure experiences.
Welcome to the voice version of the blog, Pure Experiences. You are listening to the article, Afflictions of the Mind, Part 1, Deception of the Senses. Published on the 1st of August 2016 by Tarun Pradhan. Published on pureexperiences.blogspot.in. This article discusses afflictions, identity, illusion, senses and perception.
We will now begin a series of articles on afflictions of the mind. Afflictions are undesirable side effects produced by the highly complex processes that occur in the mind. While bearing in the mind that the afflictions are also perfect, there is nothing wrong with them and there is no natural law that compels anyone to remove them, we will still try to see what are the possible ways to see them clearly, and in case of extremely dysfunctional ones, how one can eradicate them effectively. There are certain tricks that I learned from great masters that I found work nicely in my experience. However, everyone has a unique mind and these may or may not work for all. This is not an article on medical or psychological matters, so those who are crazy beyond repair will not find it useful. These afflictions are seen as normal by the human society and are good examples of socially accepted madness. Those who are on the path know them very well and strive to stay uninfluenced by them. How can I know that I'm afflicted? Everyone is, don't worry. The telltale sign of afflictions is suffering and bondage. That is the main motivation behind hunting them down. It is not really important to completely cure them. In most cases, simply being aware of them is enough. 1. Deception of the senses. Almost all of the contents that the mind organizes originate from senses, internal or external. What we perceive is only as good as what the senses are capable of. Our worldviews are totally dependent on what we perceive. The reverse can also be said. Our perception gradually becomes dependent on our existing knowledge. So much so that we are unable to perceive anything that is outside the narrow beliefs derived from extremely narrow sensory contents. It is debatable what lies outside the sensory radar. It does appear that whatever lies in its range is being created and perceived simultaneously. In other words, there is no difference between creation of the contents and perceptions of them. When there is no perception, there are no contents. Things do not exist if they are not perceived. This is seen very clearly during an out-of-body trip, aka astral projection, where there is no difference between an intention to see something, its creation and its perception. It is less obvious in normal waking state, but can be experienced with some careful observation. Gradually, as the mind gathers knowledge, it erects walls of knowledge and beliefs around itself, becomes more and more limited. It can be counterintuitive. More knowledge should lead to more freedom, not less. The freedom does not come from sense perceptions and their organization. This should be seen clearly. Freedom comes from not taking sense perceptions literally, not letting walls of belief form, and clearly understanding how the senses build up a limited world, a VR-like immersive environment around the mind. Once this is understood, freedom results, else one is trapped in this sensory game forever. The firm conviction that the absolute reality or truth is nothing but what the senses tell us is an affliction of the mind. The belief is complete and strong, and most of the time nothing can be done to eradicate it, if one is not willing and open. Mother Nature comes to help in the form of suffering. Beliefs beget suffering. Always. Not only that, such people cause suffering for others and also destroy their physical surroundings. They find enough justification for that. The sensory illusion creates a separation of me from the rest, and so, for the one who is afflicted, it is not possible to see that the damage is being done to the self, not to the others or objects. There are no others and no separate objects. The separation is an illusion, really. Refer previous entries please for a discussion on identity. How to get rid of this affliction? If you are reading this blog since start, the answer should be obvious. I repeat it again and again because this is the only trick that works most of the time, and it is be aware of it all. Being aware, conscious, attentive towards how the senses limit us will help in getting rid of this limitation. Does it magically make the usual world disappear and will another, more real world appear to me instead? No. Everything remains as is, only the mind changes, not the external forms. The awareness of the illusion will not make the illusion go away. Instead, simply, one is not fooled by it anymore. Our choices and actions are now free from the influence of the hypnotic senses. This is a great achievement in itself. If you are on your own, it will appear almost impossible to go beyond the senses. A teacher who is free from the trap of perception is needed. Books, discussions, audiovisual material, all this also helps. Fortunately, there are many studies and enough material out there that shows how the mind creates a sensory world out of mere information. Anyhow, if you are on a path of knowledge, you will want to see it for yourself, and not depend on others' experiences. For those who are daredevils, I recommend learning astral projection or lucid dreaming. These techniques directly show the practitioner the illusion that we call a physical world. One should not make a mistake of assuming that it is just one of trillions of worlds, physical or non-physical. It is merely an illusion. These worlds are not pre-existing, they are not there actually. Worlds can be created on demand. The mind is a mean machine when it comes to creation. Words cannot describe how powerful the mind is. It is flabbergasting and beyond comprehension. One needs to experience it firsthand. Even a short experience is enough to give you an idea, to free you from the illusion of senses. One need not spend their entire lives exploring the creative powers of the mind. Get the point? Get out of it. So it's all an illusion, and once this affliction of seeing it otherwise is gone, one can simply torch everything around him, kill people randomly and let it all crash and burn. It's only an illusion, right? Nothing should matter here. Well, I say, try it, go ahead. You are setting yourself up for a big surprise if you do that. You will not like it. It will not be a pleasant surprise, I bet. The sensory world is an illusion, but illusion does not mean that there is nothing there. It merely means that the underlying structures appear to us in a form that is iconic, not literal. It is not possible, in my opinion, to see structures as they are. There will always be an interpretation, and the interpretation appears as an illusion. Structures stand on the shoulders of other structures, and once they begin forming, they produce a unique creation, an illusion, if you will, when they are interpreted by other structures. In the case of our physical universe, the other structures I mention are senses, and the more fundamental structures are material in nature, the illusory particles, atomic or subatomic or subsubatomic, depending on how deep one is willing to dig. When one destroys the worlds or its inhabitants, one is destroying these structures. The destruction is there, no matter how they appear. This should be clear. Even if the structures and processes of the mind are presented in an iconic, illusory form, they are there and are real. One should not destroy them for the same reason one does not delete a file icon on your computer just because it doesn't look like a series of voltage spikes, ones and zeros. The file represents a meaningful structure and the fancy graphic icon is there for a purpose. It is an illusion though, it is not what the file is. You might lose your precious work if you think you are deleting an icon, and you will not like the consequences. Especially, in our physical universe, there is no recycle bin. One cannot simply restore everything as it was, and the consequences are unforgiving. They will come back and bite you. And therefore, it is so important to realize the illusion for what it is. One must not meddle with it, justifying one's actions on incorrect assumptions. Once one is free of the illusion, one sees the underlying immensity and beauty of it, and one automatically perseveres to enhance it, and if nothing else, will not mess with it at least. Pure experiences.
You were listening to Pure Experiences by Tharun Pradhan. For more, please visit pureexperiences.blogspot.in.